Good morning. Test, test.
There we go. Well, good morning, County Council. It is 10:30 a.m. somewhere, including here. So we'll call the meeting to order and join me in singing "O Canada."
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll call, please?
Councillor Mackey,
Present.
Councillor McKay, since his regrets today, Councillor Carlton, Councillor Pringle, Councillor McQueen, Councillor Nielsen, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Dickert, Councillor Kentner, Councillor Keaveney, Councillor Body, Councillor Gregg, Warden Milne,
Present.
Councillor Dobreen, Councillor Matrosovs, Councillor Bourdignon is joining momentarily, Councillor Eccles, and Councillor Hutchinson.
Present.
Councillor Bourdignon has also joined us.
Thank you, Tara. Before we begin, I want to respectfully acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of the Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. And further, we give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, known collectively as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the traditional keepers of these lands and waters since time immemorial. To our south also lies the traditional territories of the Six Nations of the Grand River and the Haudenosaunee. We are dedicated to honoring and Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and friendship with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. Is there any declaration of interest related to any item on today's council agenda? Not seeing any. If one should arise during the course of the meeting, you can declare it at that time, of course. Adoption of the minutes, item number 6A, County Council and Committee of the Whole minutes dated May 23rd. Would someone care to move those minutes, please? Councillor Keaveney, Councillor Eccles, any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Next set of minutes are from the closed Committee of the Whole meeting dated May 23rd. Councillor Patterson and Councillor Dickert, any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Special Committee of the Whole minutes dated May 31st of this year. Someone move those. Councillor Matrosovs, Councillor Dobreen, any discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And the Long-Term Care Committee of Management minutes dated May 14th. Someone care to move those, please? Councillor Patterson and Councillor Mackey. That was close. That was close. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. And the final set of, we need more, oh, wait. Nope, those are all the minutes. No closed meeting matters. There are no reports. We have three bylaws. Someone to move collectively, we adopt those. Councillor Nielsen and Councillor Dickert. Any discussion? All those in Tara, okay, Tara's going to speak to the bylaw to amend the that other bylaw, the traffic, yeah, she's gonna talk about something here. So, Tara.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I just would like to draw to council's attention, bylaw 5188-24, a bylaw to amend the traffic and parking bylaw on Grey County highways. So we're proposing amendment be put forward to appoint a person who may designate a highway or portion of highway as a construction zone. And the proposal is to designate the Director of Transportation Services so that certain portions of highways under construction can be construction zones, and in effect, the OPP or police services will be able to issue higher fines and enforce speeding in those zones. So there hasn't been a prior report on this amendment, so we just wanted to raise that for council's information.
Thank you, Tara. Any discussion or questions on that? Councillor Gray.
I'd just like to indicate my support, my positive support for that. I was as part of that roads tour, I found it appalling actually when we were looking at the roundabout on highway or County Road 4 and 3 at the lack of care some motorists seem to place upon themselves while traveling through that construction zone. These are men and women working through the day and all deserve you know, the opportunity to get home safe at the end of the day to their families. And I was just certainly shocked at the behavior of some of the people, the automobiles passing through that construction zone. So certainly happy to see us as a corporation doing anything we can to further strengthen those construction zones and the safety and security of the individuals working within them.
Thank you, Councillor Greg. Absolutely support that. Any other discussion? Okay, we're voting on all three bylaws. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. News and celebrations. Savannah has some good news for us this morning. Savannah, welcome. She's going to share a couple of videos with us, I believe, which is always a popular thing.
Thank you so much, Warden. Good morning, County Council. I'm going to bring Taylor up with me to share some videos as well and to talk to you about the Sydenham grand opening that we had. So it is such an honor for us to be able to talk about Sydenham now that we are officially launched. And you know that we like our Made in Grey approach. So our grand opening was a little bit different than normal. We weren't opening something that was coming, we were opening something that was here. And now with the final phase of the makerspace being unveiled, it was the final stage of Sydenham. So we were able to celebrate success all together and talk for the very first time about the federal investment reaching over $1 million. So as you know, we were awarded in 2021, $845,000 from the federal government. And in 2024, that grew by an additional $200,000 to reach over $1 million and complete the makerspace. So instead of having to phase it over a couple of years, it is now done. And we are so very excited to be able to bring folks to the table. And it was just a really neat celebration that I can't do justice talking about. So I would really like Taylor, who is our campus manager of Sydenham, to join me and talk about the day.
Thank you, Savannah, and good morning, County Council. On May 30th, Grey County celebrated the official grand opening of Sydenham Campus, Regional Skills Training, Trades, and Innovation Center. I want to thank the members of County Council that were in attendance that day, as well as those that sent their regards. I would also like to give a special thanks to Warden Milne for hosting the event and emceeing our morning. Thank you. More than 100 guests attended the formal remarks and ribbon cutting before we opened our doors for the first community open house. Between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m., more than 150 visitors explored the campus. Guests thoroughly enjoyed the tours, meeting our tenants, discovering the machines, equipment, technology, and expertise available now in the makerspace. The board and volunteers of the makerspace were on site providing demonstrations and sharing their excitement. The energy was palpable as folks excitedly explored the campus, My biggest takeaway was the wide range of folks who came to the open house. All different ages, people that have lived in the region their entire life, and others who had just moved here. All shared in their awe of the campus, its partners, tenants, and technology, and what it means for the region. People couldn't believe a place like Sydenham campus exists right here, at home. To mark the occasion and gather good content for future marketing, which you'll start to see a lot more of, we created a reel, and I'd like to share that with you now.
The Makerspace features 8 dedicated fabrication zones, catering to woodwork, metalwork, clean lab environments, digital technology, and marketing. It will be a fantastic resource for entrepreneurs looking to expand their skills or prototype products. We are very excited to show it off today.
If anyone has any questions regarding the campus or wants to bring an interested individual or group for a tour, please let me know, reach out to me at any time. My contact information is in the back of the booklet. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Taylor. That was a really cool video. I don't know who the guy in the background was. It was where you found him, but anyway, you made it sound really good. It is good.
It was a great speech. We're so excited to be able to start sharing more about Sydenham campus and get people excited. So on your desks, you all have the little booklet, and then all of the mayors also have a little package so that you can bring them home to your municipal councilors as well as your staff. And if you need any more, you please let us know. There's an updated one on the website now, because since our open house, Georgian College has taken the last room in the trade space. So it is now a full quadrant trade space, which is so exciting. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Savannah. Do you have another? Yeah, let's do the other one now. We're on a roll. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Last year, we launched a Share the Road campaign, and that really came out of the Agriculture Advisory Committee and the desire to talk about everybody's responsibility to share the road, our farmers and our travelers, our bicyclists, anybody who's on the road has a shared responsibility to that road. It was met with such excitement and endorsement from the Ag Advisory Committee and all of our community that we wanted to expand it. So you're starting to see more billboards pop up around, but we also thought it was time to share a video so that we could talk more about that education before people get here on the roads. So Kalina and Heather in our office worked very hard with Beyond Reach Productions and put together a wonderful video. There's a 25-second reel as well, but we wanted to share the longer video with you. So it's 1 minute, but I hope that you enjoy the message, and we can't wait to continue to share this.
Where can you find farmers hard at work? Right here in your own backyard. Grey County, where farmers are your neighbors, feeding our families for generations, connecting us to our agricultural heritage, and traveling the same roadways as all of us. Like farmers, we're carrying precious cargo. Please slow down. We can all share the road. Waiting for slow-moving farm vehicles helps everyone. Be patient. Due to equipment and shoulder conditions, farmers may be unable to pull off the road. Give space. Farm vehicles may be carrying heavy, large loads and may need to swing wide to make turns. Help farmers get themselves and their equipment safely to the next field. Let's all share the road. Brought to you by Grey County.
Well done, Savannah. Thank you so much for that. It's a very timely reminder because, yeah, farmers are always out in the road. It seems like. Any other, well, I'll start off, other good news and celebrations. This is Seniors Month. June is, and today, June 13th, just so happens to be also in the inaugural celebration of National Long-Term Care Day in Canada. The day acknowledges the collective contributions and achievements of the long-term care sector, celebrating residents and the dedicated and hardworking staff who provide care to the thousands of Canadians who live in long-term care homes. This year's Seniors Month theme. Exactly. This year's theme, Working for Seniors, is a time to recognize the hard work seniors do in our region. It is also an opportunity to thank and celebrate seniors who continue to make our communities a better place through their leadership and volunteerism. Grey County's 3 long-term care homes are celebrating Seniors Month by hosting planned activities and events for their residents. Some of these activities include strawberry socials, dog shows, Father's Day breakfasts, car shows, Grey Bruce Pride presentations, barbecues, and a whole lot more. The homes are also spotlighting and thanking resident volunteers and senior volunteers to help color it in our homes. Happy Seniors Month. So, anybody else have any? Councillor Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So this Sunday, Georgian Bluffs is having the Greener Homes Tour. It runs from 11 to 3, and it's a self-guided tour through Georgian Bluffs' most sustainable homes. The Greener Home Tour showcases real-world applications of cutting-edge, eco-friendly technologies in local residences. Homeowners will discuss their experiences from installation and cost to benefits in daily operation. And expert contractors will also be available at selected sites to answer your questions and give advice. Some of these homes have been specially built to be completely green. Others have been renovated. So it'll be an interesting tour on Sunday. And the list of all the homes is on the Georgian Bluffs website.
Thank you, Councillor Carlton. Anyone else? Councillor Body.
Thank you, Warden Milne. I don't know if everyone's finding June to be unbelievably busy, but it's packed. I'm just going to talk about 4 or 5 or 6 things. Monday, oddly enough, I had dinner with my wife. It was nice to see her. We hope to do that again next Sunday. Last Thursday, I attended the Radiotheranostics Leaders Summit in Toronto, and this is around isotopes. So radio being nuclear, theran being therapy, gnostics being diagnostics. And the Thursday session was the head of research from UCLA, Oxford, Munich, Vancouver, a lot of doctors from Princess Margaret. And it was amazing to know the need for isotopes, where it's going to go. Friday would have been or was the session for the supply chain and more in what we're interested in and what we can try and do around here. But I decided to come home because we had a visit from some guy named Premier Ford, the Health Minister Jones, Associate Minister of Mental Health and Addictions Tobolo, his Parliamentary Assistant Smith, of course, Rick Byers. And we're cutting the ribbon for the Bright Shores new Wellness and Recovery Center, for mental health and addictions down here at the Bayview School. It was really fun to hear Minister Tobolo. Before he went into politics, he was an advocate for homelessness, for mental addictions, for mental health and addictions, and believes very strongly in this facility. It's the first one in Ontario. They've got 4 others, I think 5 others that are being built right now that are developing. It's something that has worked in Europe. Long-term treatment is what is needed so much, and people, addicts, will make strides and the wheels may fall off. It may take them a couple of attempts, but to hear his enthusiasm about what we have here is amazing. When you add what Grey County has done with the recovery center, the transitional center at 4th and 4th, the hotel. We will still get complaints that there's people on the street, but boy, it's not as bad as what you see in other cities. And I think we are doing really well in Grey County with the strides that we're taking, and this hospital or facility is really going to help move that forward. That afternoon, Premier Ford toured Makwa, Cahill or Call, and then toured StevCon specifically to look at the isotope packaging. So it was fun to hang out with the Premier that's very enthusiastic about what's going on in the in industry in Ontario, and very, very interested and very personable. Going forward on the 21st being the solstice, it's also Indigenous Peoples Day. There is a sunrise ceremony starting at 5:30 down at Kelso Beach at Maywatch Park. It is, if you haven't been, it's pretty special. You've got to do it at least once in your lifetime, and this year would be a great year to start. I think probably once you go once, you'll come back. Of course, Maywatch Park or Kelso is where the original Maywatch village was, right down there, what some of us still call Outbrook. And it's a really special day that is really special. I'm not sure if the warden is coming this year. I know the warden from Bruce County is coming, so I would hope that the warden of Grey County will come as well. Of course, Canada Day, not everyone's having fireworks anymore, but we'll have live entertainment, and sound and fireworks at the same place at Kelso Beach, and that covers off the highlights. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Body. And indeed, yes, I will be at the sunrise service. Councillor Keaveney, I saw your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and good morning, everyone. And we have shared this before, but I wanted to stand first of all to show our logo for Meaford's 150th, our sesquicentennial. Our big event is happening on Saturday, June 15th, with a parade beginning at 1 o'clock from our old high school, traveling down to the Harbor Pavilion. And from there will be a family festival, events from 2 until 5, everything free for families. Only the food is a cost, and there will be a food truck present. But there's all kinds of old-fashioned games and displays and demonstrations, and music. Is just going to be a wonderful day. And after that, if anyone is interested, there's a music bingo event up at our golf course. So there's something for everyone on Saturday, and we hope that some of you may be able to come out and celebrate our 150th with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Sounds like fun. Anyone else? Councillor McQueen.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And a few things I want to bring up this morning. One, though, just going back to share the road and road safety. I wonder if it's something we can emphasize also is on curbs. I just heard yesterday of a farmer was on a blind curb, was going around and met 2 motorcycles and had to make a choice, either hit the motorcycles or go in the ditch. He went the ditch, took the right way, but the individuals that were coming were in the wrong lane. So, you know, with a large piece of equipment with a rake on, I had a hay rake on the back, and anyway, wasn't able to other than roll the tractor, and everybody was okay other than a bit of fixing. But I just think, you know, I know we have a lot of roads or scenic roads that are curves, and farmers are out wherever, and you know, so anyway, it was a situation where nobody was hurt and the motorcycles survived, but it could have easily been a worse situation. So just for note, that's something that really happened. As you know, Mr. Warden, you and I attended Ray Robertson's retirement from the Grey Ag Services officially, but he probably will still be an advisor on that, as we know. And Lori Smith will certainly has been working her way into taking over that. As you know, Ray was instrumental of creating the Ag Services building or the this program and support for the agriculture community in Grey County, which was after in the late 90s, where the province decided to close a lot of their ag buildings. Grey Ag Services, as Andy Berry said, it was unique to the province, and so we need to be proud of that. Grey County was very supportive of that when it was created at the Grey Gables there in Markdale. So again, shout out to Ray for his retirement. I think Andy said it won't be a retirement, it'll be a refiring. It'll be something else that he'll move toward. And a lot of stories with Ray. I'm sure everybody knows Ray. And as you know, last year, Ray received a couple of agricultural awards that he was recognized for. next time you see him, say, how was the retirement going? Also, we're having our 25th annual classic and tractor show, Father's Day tractor show in Rockland this Sunday. It's at the fairgrounds, always well attended. Lots of people show up. I just hope it's sunny because it really has an effect on the cars when it's raining, because people don't want to bring their vehicles and tractors out. But it's a fundraiser, and the community is rallying around again in the 25th annual. So you have a nice vehicle, or you're looking for a drive, it starts from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's a great event. Lots of good, nice vehicles that you can sort of rub up against. Well, maybe not rub up against, but maybe come close to rubbing up against. But anyway, it's a good event. So thank you, Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Paul. It's the old tractors that might attract the old farmers. Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you, Warden Milne. Just two comments I'd like to bring. It was a pleasure to attend FCM in Calgary this past week, and to promote Grey County and our member municipalities at the FCM. Sharing from excitement from around Sydenham campus with my fellow colleagues there, the success of the hotel purchase, the SOS program that happens here, as well as Owen Sound's energy economy and Meaford's possible success there. Using Blue Mountains and Chapman's Ice Cream as a geographic locator when you're talking to people from around the country was successful. I heard more than once when sharing all these things that Grey County is ahead of the curve. There was urban cities that were behind us with Sydenham campus type projects and homeless outreach and such. And it's a lot of pride that comes to you when you're talking to municipalities, councillors, and mayors from around the country, all sharing and saying that we're ahead of the curve and being very successful. So I just wanted to share that with everybody here. I also would like to take a chance to thank Director Scott Taylor for last night. Greyhounds hosted the public session on the Beaver Valley Development Group file. At its peak, we had 346 attendees as part of the Zoom call. I believe we had 54 individual speakers commenting on the file itself. And Director Taylor gave a great explanation of the file, the process that we're going to be going through for this to the residents. And I am sure he enjoyed the full 4.5 hours that we are on this Zoom call. I did learn one thing that I'd like to share with everybody, that last night Scott proved that not only can he delay lunch, he can delay dinner too.
And look good doing it. Look good doing it. Councillor DeBreen.
Thank you, Warden Milne, and good morning, County Council. I have to echo Councillor Boddy's sentiments about how busy June is. June 22nd in Southgate, first of all, there's Y Settlement Services is hosting a multicultural day at Grey Roots from 11 till 4. But back in Southgate in Dundalk at 11 a.m., Dundalk Pride Parade, followed by the Dundalk Fire Department Frolic from 2 to 4 at the arena, followed by a dance in the evening, line dancing at 8 p.m. and at 9 o'clock, music and an evening filled of dancing with Connor Wilson. So we have a jam-packed day, and we hope that if your schedules permit, we know that everyone is busy, but please come out.
Thank you, Barb. Lots of fun stuff going on. Anyone else have anything to share? Councillor Eccles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden, through you. A couple of things mentioned about Canada Day. The biggest Canada Day celebration, July 1st, will be in Durham. Fireworks, children's games, tug of war. Yes, there will be a beer gardens as well too, to celebrate the way we always do in West Grey. Along with that, I just wanted to say, in partnership with Grey Highlands, Priceville has a wonderful Canada Day celebration as well too, with fireworks at dusk. So if you sit somewhere just off of Grey Road 23, you can probably watch them in Durham and Priceville and get double your chance there for that. June 16th, the Newstead Brewery, a very historical spot, not only in West Grey, in Newstead, but Grey County, are starting a summer entertainment program, 2 to 5 on Father's Day. the brewery will be open and celebrating, and Eric Bolton will be there playing on that day. One other thing, of course, in the celebration side of it, and thank you again, or my apologies to Grey Highlands. There was a news release come out this morning that, as most of you know, West Grey's CEO retired or resigned and went to Brampton in February. So we have successfully gone through the search and whatnot, and I'd just like to make the announcement that Michelle Harris, who was the Economic Development Community Support, I'm not sure what all title you had with her, Mayor McQueen at Grey Highlands, but Michelle will be starting as the new CEO in West Grey. Oh boy, June 8th. Well, I hope it's June 8th. July 8th. Yeah. Well, I was hoping it would have been June 8th, but no. Thank you, Kim. July 8th, Michelle will be starting with us. And maybe on not as much of a positive note, but all the beds have been transitioned out of the Durham Hospital. We'll be having issues there. Certainly wasn't something that has been as much of an emergency as what maybe the CEO of South Bruce Grey had mentioned, because even 3 days before, there was construction going on in the Durham Hospital, where the emergency ward, and there was the walkway through. It's been sealed off now into the hospital. So definitely, if you get to the emergency ward, you won't get any further into the Durham Hospital. Two other interesting things have happened with a lot of equipment being moved out. Prospects are still looking very good for the court challenge that will happen. I believe it's about October the 15th. Not as much a court challenge as the judicial review on what has all gone on there. And there's still time for the county to become an intervener. I believe the county council turned down the idea of being a party, but intervener status would very much put forward our, as a county council and as a county perspective, in on this case. And I would ask that staff take a look at that option going forward. And with that, don't think that anybody else's healthcare in rural Ontario is safe. South Muskoka is in the same situation, closing. Minden has closed. Alexandria, out in Eastern Ontario, was strange. I thought that you must have met Mr. Warden when the Premier and the Health Minister were here. They were right in the county last week. I thought we would ask for them to meet with us, but silence means no. Silence from the Ministry of Health has been very disturbing on the delivery of healthcare in rural Ontario and how it's going to be delivered going forward. Look forward to continuing the fight.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Councillor McQueen.
Well, through you, Mr. Warden, just to follow up with that. I heard was mentioned last night at our public meeting that an individual that works at the hospital, that the Markdale Hospital is starting to see pressure from that closure of that emergency department at the Durham Hospital. And I just don't know if we need to have a further discussion on that. I was hoping that Mr. Eccles was going to be successful and maybe turn that ship around, but maybe at some point we should have that further discussion. And I know even the Collingwood Hospital, there was a certain department that was closed for 2 days just because of staffing issues. And I know that they have that under control, but obviously there's a trend that's maybe happening here. So obviously, I'm not sure. I guess the overflow would be either Markdale, but also I guess Hanover, I guess is the other area, which then puts more pressure and demand on other areas within our county and around. So I don't know if that's something we need to have a further discussion on, a follow-up. That's what Mr. Eccles is bringing forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will remind council, this is good news and celebration. I don't want to get into a debate about healthcare, but I will recognize Councillor Apples. Thank you. Anyone else have any good news or celebrations? All right, I need one more motion to wrap up this portion of our meeting this morning. Councillor Patterson and Councillor Tom Hutchison. Councillor Hutchison. I got the first name, but I just, anyway. To adjourn. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. We will just take a moment to change over to our committee of the whole meeting. Yeah. Now. Thank you, Olivia. Councillor Pringle, I apologize. I've got the name now. All righty, let's call this meeting to order. Is there any declaration of interest related to any item on committee of the whole agenda? Okay. We don't have any business or is there any business arising from those minutes? Delegations, we have Darlene DiStefano.
Yes.
Did I get that right, Darlene? There you go. She's here to speak about solutions for attainable living and a request for financial support. So Darlene, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, County Council. I'm happy to be here. Just a really quick brief. I am the chair and the founder of Solutions for Attainable Living, which we call SAL for short. And our main focus, we have three initiatives being housing, healthcare, and employment. But our main focus is the housing, and that's what I'm here about today. So what we're looking at is doing a ARU, backyard ARU pilot project, and wanting to go out to the communities, basically every municipality, and be able to offer a presentation to residents. And basically what that involves is being able to provide the information on benefits, some of the drawbacks, some of the language to use, who to approach, recognizing every municipality's bylaws are different. So where your neighbor or your friend in another municipality may very well be able to put what they want in their backyard, you may not. And there's many other variables that the homeowner really needs to recognize and understand. So if I can, I would like to try to share my screen. Now, I've never done this before, so I could screw it up totally, but I'm going to give it a whirl and see if this will play for you. I know you have it in your package. I don't know if you've had time to review, but I will try this and see. I don't know. Oh, goodness. Okay. Share. Let me see. Oh, okay, hang on. Let me try this again. Okay, can you see this?
Yeah, we can see that, Darlene.
Okay, thank you. I will now click the play.
The slides are advancing, but we're not hearing anything.
Oh, you're not supposed to hear anything. It's music in the background. So I can tell you very quickly as they go through. The introduction, this one, of course, is on the website, your website as well, showing the various ARUs and the opportunities for potential income. This one's a self-contained, knowing that an ARU is self-contained, meaning they have a bathroom, a kitchen, and a separate entrance. That's another version, looking at doing a garage with a suite above the garage. So we are looking at backyard units, not in the house units. Many different styles to choose from in these backyard homes, whether you are, whatever your preference is, basically. And why are we looking at this? Of course, it's less cost, less energy, and less expensive repairs, and less, that means less stress, which is a huge one. and helping people who need affordable housing regardless of their age, moving down from a big home, less clutter and less maintenance is what we're looking at. There's many benefits to an ARU, and you can read those as well. Afterwards, you have the PowerPoint too. But basically, we're looking at a lot of issues for affordable housing, which is thoroughly in need. And aging in place is a really big one right now as well. And talking to a lot of seniors, I found that they were not so trusting of people living in their house with them, but certainly were interested to learn more about a separate unit in the backyard where they could have a caregiver there, or they could live there and have someone else rent their house. Many benefits looking at from affordability, flexibility, security. Just the list goes on here as to why it's a great opportunity for seniors. There's a lot of special benefits to seasonal workers. I have spoken with a number of people in business. One of their biggest problems is housing for seasonal workers. That's a big issue. Benefits to families, as you can see, there's many of them with different risk populations. And business owners, again, there's a lot of value here in providing this to bring in community vibrancy. The affordable housing is sometimes misrepresented, and people don't really understand that 30% of your income before taxes is what's been considered affordable. So what's affordable for you may not be affordable for someone else. So if we're looking at affordable, which is for people who really have difficulties at the affordable housing spectrum, then we are really looking at something that is a lot less than what's available there today. We are looking at prioritizing affordability. That's our main initiative. So the two options, being able to rent a portion of your yard to someone who owns an ARU already, or bringing in an ARU yourself and doing that in your backyard as well, renting out both. This is the reasons for the slow uptake. People were not educated. Public as well as municipalities were really not educated when it first was announced. So it's taken a while to get on side here. What we can do here is the terminology, as I said, looking at guidance, insightful discussion with regards to the ARUs. And it is very empowering when people understand and have the knowledge of what they can do. We can look at people wanting to get more involved in community engagement and enhancing a lifestyle and the community as a whole. So municipalities getting involved would be joining us in our presentations for the building inspector, which would be an advantage, absolutely. And the municipality providing space for us to do this. Your own website has your own statement of affordable housing and why it's sorely needed and how to increase it. So we are looking for your support in this pilot project, that you have a copy of the budget, and I'll speak to that in a second. I believe that we are at the end. That was faster than me trying to talk to you about it. So there we go. Now I have to find you again. Oh gosh, how do I get back to that? There we are. Thank you. So I did send you the copy of the projected budget. Just in reviewing that, this was prepared for both Bruce and Grey County. However, we are at your door first. And looking at this, we would be looking at the bare minimum that we could even do this within Grey County alone would be $25,000. That would cover the immediate expenses that are required. And then we would be looking at, actually 30 would be better, but 25 we can make it work. And then we would go over to Bruce and ask for them as well. If they don't want to, then we would be only promoting this in Grey County. It's just a matter of numbers and costs to do something. So this is what we're asking for. And the bare minimum will cover the cost of a trailer. It will cover the cost of upgrading to the website that needs to be done that I can't do. And looking at some of the hosts that we need to host the prototype that we are having built for us and on loan to us for a year. And from there, we can look at purchasing it later if we're so inclined and we're able to do so. And then it also would be covering some of the data that people come to these meetings and what we learn from what they want and what their needs are in the community as well. So basically, that's it. Questions?
Well done, Darlene. You had 10 minutes and it took you 9.5, so well done. Are
Okay.
there any questions from council about the presentation? Okay, you must, Councillor McQueen, go ahead.
Well, through you, Mr. Warden, I don't know if Scott has a brief opportunity to speak a little bit what is available or what can be done, because I know that it does vary a little bit, and I know changes to the different planning acts, but I know that ARUs are permitted in most cases, but I know there was maybe some clarity. I don't know if Scott has an opportunity just to bring a brief part of it, because I think it's a really good thing. It's a great opportunity for to create housing, and I just think more and more people need to know about it, because I think it is one solution of many that does go a long way for creating housing.
Well, I would suggest that if council wishes a report from staff, then we need some direction to do that. If someone's prepared to do that. In the meantime, are there any other questions for Darlene? Okay, not seeing any. I will thank you, Darlene, very much for the presentation. Clearly, you covered all the bases. There's no further questions. So we thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Okay. Consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that require any councillors would require removed for further discussion or direction? Not seeing any, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Councillor Dickert. Councillor Pringle, would you like to second that? Thank you very much. Excellent. Yes. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to items for direction and discussion. The first is a report here from Rebecca Denard, Manager of Climate Change Initiatives. She is going to speak to a report on energy conservation and demand management plan. Someone care to move that, please? Councillor Carlton and Councillor Nielsen. Rebecca, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here again. Could I get the slide? Nope. There we go. There we go. Okay, thank you very much for having me back again today. I'm going to be talking about our energy conservation and demand management plan. So according to Ontario Regulation 50718, municipalities are required to create an energy conservation and demand management plan every 5 years. And this plan looks both back, so are reviewing our energy performance from 2018 to 2023, and then looks forward, forecasting energy performance from 2024 to 2028. So that's the time period that we're going to be looking at in this report. The regulations require that administrative offices, cultural facilities, EMS stations, transport depots, and storage facilities, those are the types of buildings that are required to be included in the report. We've decided to extend that to include our long-term care facilities and our multi-unit residential buildings for social housing, due to those having such a significant contribution to our energy portfolio. It wouldn't really be a complete report without looking at those ones. For the moment, we're not including the single family residential units and things like fleet or outdoor lighting, but we may consider, oh my goodness, what's going on there? There we go. We may be considering those as we go forward, particularly as we potentially are electrifying our fleet, and then the charging of the vehicles is going to impact the energy performance of the buildings. We're not there yet, but something that we're keeping in mind for the future. Oh, and I should mention as well that my colleague Kieran Adejisla is here. He has really done all of the heavy lifting, getting the data together for this report. So anything sort of specific, building specific data points, he's the man for those questions. So he will be able to help me out if there's anything that comes up that we need to talk about. Okay, so this is an overview of an energy type by building. And as you can see, the blue there is the long-term care, which is a significant part of our portfolio. And then the orange is the social housing, which is really just the multi-unit buildings. So these graphs, I hope, make it clear as to why we included those in the ECDM. They are really a majority of our energy usage, as well as our energy cost and our greenhouse gas emissions. So we wanted to put them in the plan so that we're planning for our largest buildings. Okay, and this one actually is a lot of data in one small table. And I'm wondering if I should go grab my it doesn't have my notes view, but I'm just going to grab my notes because they're not on this view. There we go. Just wanted to make sure I cover all the points that I wanted to get out of this one. So the first thing to look at is those blue, the numbers in blue there, this is an apples to apples comparison of the buildings the 38 buildings that we owned and operated in 2018, and we continue to operate in 2023. So as you see in those numbers, our electricity, natural gas, energy intensity, and GHG emissions are all showing a small decrease when we're looking at the same set of buildings. Now, because we added some buildings in that time period, our overall emissions portfolio is going up. So we added new buildings. Some of them we bought, like Sydenham campus. Some of them we acquired, things like Golden Manor, Albert Place. Some things were built, like the Craigleith EMS station. And there were a few buildings that we didn't have complete data in 2018. So those data sets were added to the 2023 numbers. So it's sort of showing an increase, but the building was there all along. We just didn't have the data for 2018. So when you add up all of those buildings, we're now showing a slight increase in those statistics because we've added the floor area. One spot to pay attention to is the energy intensity. So this is how much energy the building uses per square foot. And if you look at that, it's actually going down. So the new buildings actually were less energy intensive than our standard portfolio, because when you add them in, we get more of an decrease in the energy intensity. And this is probably because the buildings that have the biggest energy intensity are the long-term care homes. They have to be heated, they have to be cooled, they have to be ventilated 24/7, 365 days a year. They are quite energy intensive. And the buildings we added, things like Sydenham campus, EMS bases, they don't have that level of energy intensity. So that's why the energy intensity of those new buildings is not, is sort of overall, it's bringing down our average, which is a good thing. Energy price. Let me just make sure I'm covering things here. Right. So you'll see that the energy costs there in the bottom, they went up even though our consumption went down. And energy pricing is notoriously complicated. It's due to like time of use, peak demand, global adjustment, variability in the market. There's just lots and lots of different things that go into energy pricing. So it's quite sort of complicated to figure it all out. And different types of our buildings are on different costing models. So it's not an easy sort of one-to-one calculation of why is the energy cost going up. But generally, energy prices increased over this time period, so we're seeing that reflected in our costs. And they would have increased, if we're not working to decrease our consumption, then their costs would have increased even more, but sort of trying to figure out exactly how much more is quite a task. So we're just going to leave it at that, where less consumption means we're going to be paying less, but the energy price goes up, which is something that's quite sort of beyond our control. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this is the first plan that is aligned with our climate plan. The previous ECDM was created in 2019, which was prior to the adoption of Going Green and Gray. So this edition of the plan is really trying to align some of the actions that we have outlined in this plan with the ones that are in Going Green and Gray. The ones that we're highlighting here are energy efficient new buildings, retrofitting existing buildings, solar installations, developing a municipal climate lens, and the culture of conservation. And these actions will contribute to corporate reduction targets, which we have outlined in Going Green and Gray, which is 20% reduction by 2026, which will be sort of midway through this plan, 40% by 2030, which will be just after this plan is complete. This plan finishes in 2028, just as a reminder, and then 55% by 2035, 70% by 2040, and then we're looking to achieve net zero for our corporate operations by 2045. All right, so this is kind of showing how we're doing in comparison to those targets. I'm sorry, it's a little small for you on the screen. The blue line is our targets of reduction that we're trying to see. And this is not for the entire Grey County corporate portfolio. It's only for the 47 buildings that we have included in this ECDM plan. So we're not including fleet, we're not including streetlights, we're not including waste. There's lots of things that aren't in this profile. So the line in red there is what has happened so far since 2018. And you'll see that there is a small increase, as we showed in the previous chart, and that's because of the adding of the new buildings. The green, or maybe it's gray, I think it's gray on your screen line, is this is the business as usual scenario. So if we carry on with what is outlined in the current capital plans, we achieve about a 3% reduction by 2028. I'm suggesting that there's a really opportunity to bend that curve more quickly because the business as usual plan sort of includes buying into existing technologies without making any changes. So it includes, we're just, continuing to switch out gas boiler for gas boiler, continuing to just go on the same trajectory. Whereas I think we have the opportunity here to, as things reach the end of their life, to actually make those changes and try to curve that line down more quickly during the next 5 years that this plan covers, and that will get us closer to being on track, and means that there'll be less sort of a hill to climb or a hill to ski down at that after this period. Yeah. All right. So this is what we're looking at. So suggesting for what we need to achieve for 2028. The first part of this table is really about getting a better understanding of how our buildings are operating. Actually, the first one is just having all of our new builds be net zero or net zero ready. And this just makes sense. We're on track to do this. If we're designing a new building, we should make sure that it's net zero ready. It's the easiest time for that work to happen. It means we don't have to retrofit it later. It means that it will be starting to be more efficient and save us energy costs right from the beginning. So that is an easy one to do, I hope. Then the next one's it's about understanding our buildings. So modeling and analyzing them in RedScreen. This is a program that lets us look at the utilities. It lets us do things like normalize for weather data. So we understand, did the consumption go up because it was a cold winter, or did it go up because there's actually something happening in the building that we should be aware of? Getting building energy audits in our buildings will also help us understand what is happening on the energy front and start to point us towards that modeled net zero pathway. So that's being able to look at all of our buildings and understand what would we need to do to this building to get it to hit that net zero by 2045 that we have outlined in the plan. So it's not sort of putting it as far as it's in a plan, it's in a budget, but it's modeled out in terms of this is what would need to happen. And it can align with current end of life things in our asset management plan. So we know when things are going to start to break down and we need them to be replaced. So we can put those pieces together so that when we are replacing things, we're replacing them with things that are going to get us closer to net zero rather than just replacing like for like and not really thinking about it. So we're going to get those pathways all sorted out by the next ECDM plan. And then the percent of emissions reductions we need by 2028. So if we can get a 30% reduction, this means we'll be on track for that 40% reduction by 2030 for these buildings. So that's sort of putting a number to it to what we need to be to stay on track. 35% of retrofit projects completed. So this would keep us on track to retrofit all existing buildings by 2045. And when we're talking about these retrofits, it's not like we're going to do them. It doesn't usually make them sense to do them one building at a time unless there's funding. It's not like we start with one building and we do this one to net zero and then we do this whole building and do that whole building. It's more that they are all going to get better over time as budget allows, as things reach their end of life, they can be replaced with better options. It's more feasible to do it that way than sort of like doing the buildings one at a time, getting them 100% of the way there. Looking at solar as well, we have an ambitious solar target of having 17% of existing buildings with solar by 2030. So this would be by 2028, this would be about 12.5% of the buildings. So 6 out of the 47 in this plan having solar. And there's also a megawatt goal associated with that. So we need about 1.25 megawatts of solar on our buildings by 2028 to stay on track to meet the targets we've outlined. All right. So we're already doing a lot of this work. This is underway. The new buildings, Rockwood, that some of you were at a meeting for this morning, this will be net zero ready. It will have a huge impact because those long-term care homes have such a high energy intensity that having one that's very new and sustainable and well on its way to net zero is going to really have a large impact on our overall performance. We're also working on a series of the new paramedic bases to try and get them to be all net zero design as well. There's a series of them planned for the next few years, and we're hoping to do a really great job on the first one and then learn iteratively and make them better and better as we go. And we're also looking at a new build in Dundalk, replacing the Genier apartments. And that one, we're also planning to apply for some funding to make those net zero. And there is funding for a lot of these projects if we do go to net zero. So it's going to be helpful in incentivizing these sorts of things. We've also done some equipment upgrades. Some air source heat pumps went into Grey Roots as well as some of the housing units. We're putting Energy Star appliances in some of the housing units as well, working with a company called Clear Result, and that's had significant impact and was also funded. New building automation systems, certainly in the admin building and Grey Roots, Sydenham campus, and those ones really give us a chance to understand more what's going on and have more control over how these buildings operate. And that's going to make a huge difference. And then several lighting upgrades have happened. Lighting is almost always a really good return on investment. The payback is very short, and getting better lighting can have a huge impact and be a really great return. We've also done some energy assessments at the Parkway and the Pines. Those are two of our big multi-unit residential units. There was some incentives for that. We intend to keep applying for those incentives. Basically, they can be done for free with the incentive. So as long as we can continue to get those incentives, we can continue to do those audits. We did an energy treasure hunt in the Sydenham and admin building, and that's really looking for operational and commissioning changes. Things like, are the fans running at the right speed? Are the pumps working at the optimum efficiency? Things that it's very easy to make those changes. You just need somebody to know what they're doing and change the settings, and it's not a big capital improvement that's required to potentially make some significant energy performance enhancements. And we've also obtained about, we've been talking about some incentives. It's getting about 44.5 from November to May 2024. And I recognize that there's definitely a lot of incentives were achieved before that, but this is when we've sort of started tracking our incentive tracker, which is something that Karen has been developing and has been instrumental in kind of getting us those incentives for some of these projects. Okay, and energy data management. I've been sort of hinting at this whole data situation, recognizing how important it is to have good data. So because we now have this position of a climate change data coordinator, who is Kieran, it's added our significantly to our capacity to analyze the building energy data. And it's brought to light some gaps in our current energy data management system, particularly the manual entry of utility bills. The current, I won't get into the details, but the current system doesn't allow us to automate that data entry. So it means that there is a person who is looking at a pile of bills and typing numbers into a spreadsheet, which they are doing an amazing job at. They are meticulous, they check things, but when you're talking about 400 plus bills per month, errors do happen. And then we have to go back and find out what happened here. Was this a mistake? Was this just an anomaly in the data? Was this actually a change in usage? It just eats up time because we're trying to figure out what is happening. So with good data, we can make relatively simple adjustments to the building operations that will have big impacts on costs and GHG savings. And this is what I was talking about, doing that red screen analysis of buildings, things like peak demands we can look at and see if there's something we can do just to reduce a peak that is costing us a lot of money. But unless we have the data from the building that we know is good, we can't do anything without the information. So investing in an energy management solution to collect, store, verify, analyze the data would really increase the efficiency of our operations, reduce the errors, and then provide information for staff and council to make good decisions about what we need to do in our buildings. So we're proposing that climate, finance, IT staff will work collaboratively to identify the solutions. What functionality does each department need? How will this integrate with other county systems? Make sure we come up with a solution and bring back some proposals for that. There is energy software out there. Other municipalities use it routinely. So it's just making sure that we pick the one that's going to be the best fit for our needs and across the departments that use this energy data. Okay, and sort of along those lines, we've been selected or have applied and been approved to participate in the ISO's Strategic Energy Management Program. This is the first time they're running a cohort that's specifically for municipalities. It's been offered for industry and business previously. But through this program, staff will receive training and support through their services, and it's an energy coach that will work with a cohort of other municipalities, including us, over the next 2 years to really put a magnifying glass on our energy management systems and try and really improve the processes by which we manage energy. So we're going to be working collaboratively with staff in all of our other departments to work with our energy management practices to really up our game in that regard. We have SEM milestones that are focused on energy management practices, and there are incentives for those, small amounts of money that we get along the way for hitting some of those milestones. And then there's also some incentives for energy efficiency measures that we will be implementing in our building. And as we implement some of those measures, we also can achieve some incentives money from implementing those measures. So it's a no-cost program. We get really great professional coaching, and there's potential for us to get some financial savings and money out of it as well. So I'm really excited for the potential of this program for our energy management future. All right, so this is a sort of a quick high-level look at how we might be prioritizing our actions. And this is when we're starting to talk through our SEM coach about which buildings are we going to really go after as our first order of business. You can see we're looking for buildings where we have a high degree of control over what happens in the building and how the energy is used, as well as high energy consumers. So our sort of big five are this building Sydenham Campus, Grey Roots Museum and Archives, Lee Manor, Great Gables. And then Rockwood Terrace is certainly the new build probably won't need a lot of help. And the old building, we don't really want to be putting a lot of time and energy into investing in something that's not going to be, at least not going to be in its current usage for much longer. So that one is sort of in both categories. So those are our big five that we're really trying to get focused on to begin with. And then the second one is these multi-unit residential apartments. They're large energy users, but we have less control because there's tenants, and we don't influence tenant behavior if they want to open windows and plug in all of their appliances, and we don't really have a lot of say in how the building is used. But they are large energy users, so there's still lots of things we can do in those spaces. And then up in the top up left there's the buildings that are fairly low usage, but we still have a lot of control because they are operated by our staff. So EMS spaces, transport depots, early years center, Hanover Works office, storage facilities. We have control over these, but they're not big energy users. And then our lowest priority are things like single family residential units, because again, we have very little control, and they're individually, each unit is not a big contributor to what we're doing. Let's make sure I covered what I needed to here. So, and then when we're looking at what we're addressing within these buildings, the first order of business is anything we can do with behavior. So things like turning off lights, closing windows, lowering and upping down the shades. And then things that are to do with commissioning, that's like, how is the building working? Is the furnace operating at optimum efficiency? Is the HVAC unit doing what it's supposed to do for ventilation? Is it getting the right amount of ventilation at the right time? These kinds of things that are tweaking the system. Doesn't cost us any capital improvements. It's just about making the system work right. And then capital improvements is sort of our last step in the process. And we'd be aligning those a lot with end of life. So if something is going to be replaced anyway, that's really a great opportunity to do that. We also need to just sort of decide within this portfolio of buildings, which ones are we going to invest and which ones are we going to divest? So I can imagine potentially between now and 2045, some of these buildings may get sold. So it would be good to know sort of which ones we're planning to keep and improve and which ones we may be planning to just sell off. All right. Finally, I'm wrapping it up here. I know this is a lot of information, so thank you very much for your patience. This is sort of our immediate steps of what we're doing next. So energy consumption data for all buildings, including this hourly interval data whenever possible. So this is getting a handle on what is happening, and that will help us to complete this red screen analysis and modeling for all of the buildings. So this will include weather normalization of consumption data, looking for trends, the impacts of various measures, identifying where operational savings can be achieved. So that's very helpful. And then regular building condition assessments and energy audits to really ground truth the energy consumption data. So if we're looking at we can be looking at what our utility bills are telling us, and then we can go back to the actual building and say, hey, we saw a change in March of 2026. What actually happened in the building at that time? Why did this change happen? Did it get better? Did it get worse? What's happening? So this is going to be a real collaboration with our facilities and buildings managers, because they are the ones who are in the ground. They know the buildings way better than anybody, and they can sort of give us some really on the ground insights to what's happening. And then we're creating those modeled net zero pathways. So getting the plan, how do we get this building to net zero, align that with a capital plan, make sure that things are in the budget and that need to happen, make sure that we're not sort of boxing ourselves into highly consuming of GHGs and highly inefficient systems by sort of going on autopilot. Oh, this is a gas boiler, I need to buy another one. Making sure that we're having that conversation and understanding that is there a better option? Could something else happen in this plan that would sort of not box us into a high emission future? And then modeling the impacts of potential capital improvements, and that can also be done in this red screen software. Looking for that return on investment. What are the projects that have that are going to save us money and energy very quickly? Those are sort of a really great thing to start with. Looking at things that potentially are kind of neutral, like they're going to save us energy, but they have a large upfront cost. Looking for financial models to support some of that investment. things like solar usually fall into that category. And then things that are harder to justify from a cost perspective, looking at replacing those at end of life. So when you have to replace it anyway, because it's stopped working or it's at end of life, can we replace it with a more green option? And then, of course, looking for opportunities to accelerate some of this work through external funding or financial models that would allow us to sort of make progress more quickly by taking advantage of some of those opportunities that are coming from other levels of government to sort of accelerate this pathway. So that's what I have for you. Happy to take some questions. That was a lot to take in. So yes, happy to respond to anything.
Thank you, Rebecca. Indeed, there was a lot of stuff in there. Any questions from council? Councillor Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and thank you, Rebecca. That was a lot of information. One of my questions that arose that I thought of as you were going through, on the high energy consumption, low control with the multi-unit residential, are they metered individually that there would be a way to monitor each unit and perhaps give incentives for the residents of those to decrease their usage?
That's a great question. And in some cases, yes, it is individually metered, and in some cases it's not individually metered. One thing that we thought of is there is actually these little meter devices that you can, it can be for home use, and you can actually just plug it in between your stove and your outlet, and it will tell you what the energy consumption is. And we are considering offering those as like a voluntary measure. So if people are interested and they want to know what kind of energy they're using as a resident, they could sort of check it out from the tool library and we could go find out. There's also an opportunity to look at occupancy, because that can also really skew the data that we're looking at, because, you know, clearly a building that has 12 units occupied versus 8 units occupied is going to have a really different consumption. So we can look sort of to see, you know, are the variability in the usage, is it based on who's living there, or is it based on, well, there's just more occupancy in this building and that's why the energy went up or down. So it's a lot of investigation that that we're looking into.
Any other questions? Councillor Gregg, and then Councillor Keaveney.
Thanks for the informative material, Rebecca. Only I have a question regarding the time span. This is something that was created by the province in 2013, and the reporting has to be submitted every 5 years. Is there any discussion on, you know, back then, you don't know, you lay it out and you just ask municipalities to report every 5 years, but there's a lot, this was not written in an afternoon. And the shifts in the data, the results are really hard to gather just in 5 years, unless they thought that municipalities were just awash in money and could just do everything overnight, which is very clearly not the case. So is there any discussion about advocating that this kind of reporting be done every 10 years or extending it a little further out so that the results, it just looks like a lot of municipalities would spend time just chasing data as opposed to adequate timelines to reflect investment and actual change that's taken place. The 5 years just seems to be pretty short time span. So just wondering if there's any reflection by the province on, they laid it out there 5 years and they're assessing perhaps, you know, what's ideal.
Good question. So I'm not aware that the province is looking at changing these reporting requirements. I got to say that from our perspective, we found this exercise incredibly valuable, because it forces us to take a good hard look at what do we know, what do we don't know, and we're coming out of this with a lot of really great questions that are going to help us to get to the bottom of why do our buildings behave the way they do. And without the provincial mandate, would this work have been done? Eventually, yes, but we've really kind of had to focus in and get our ducks in a row to meet the deadline for this report. And it's kind of given us, it's opened up a lot of questions about the buildings and our ability to understand what's happening and to potentially make changes and to understand which ones are ahead of the curve and which ones are behind the curve. this is something I feel like we would like to do, if anything, more often, because it really gives us that, the more we know about the buildings, the more we understand about how they're using utilities, energy, how is this working, the better ability for us to control that, both from the cost perspective and from a GHG perspective. So I think having the data and having the reporting to the province is really secondary for me to what we've achieved with this plan, is really a better understanding of our buildings, which is really, really valuable for us.
Councillor Keaveney.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and thank you, Rebecca. And it's wonderful that you're here at Grey County and that you have an opportunity to do this deep dive, which I know will bring great results and energy savings to the county. And I'm wondering if there will be any potential opportunities to share some of your learning with the lower tiers, because we don't all have climate change staff, and yet we want to find opportunities in our own buildings to improve energy efficiency. So I'm just wondering if some of your learnings could be shared with all of us.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great point. So some things obviously are specific to a particular building, but there are sort of overall principles that are applied to many of the different kinds of buildings we manage. I mentioned the energy treasure hunt that we did here at the admin building. That was a sort of a day-long workshop with a consultant who was specifically looking at this building, but also talking about buildings in general and how to get a better understanding of what's happening. And there's actually an offer for anybody who attended that training, which includes several representatives from our member municipalities, to get a follow-up coaching that is included in the offering from the IESO of a 2 hours per building coaching, so that they can sort of do with this same similar deep dive into a building that they're concerned about or that they would like more information on, and work with this consultant to really understand, using the things that we learned sort of in general in this energy treasure hunt, to get a deeper dive and an understanding of that of their own particular buildings. So happy to follow up with staff if that would be nice. Okay.
Kim, you have something to add?
I just wanted to, Kieran is sitting so quietly back there, and I really want to acknowledge him as well. This really was a tremendous effort. And my hope is that with council's support for the resolution before us here, which is looking into some energy data management systems, so that we can collect this kind of information and do the analysis in a much cleaner, more efficient, and more effective way, so that all of us can understand and we can better kind of align our future investments and requirements with our asset management plan and our capital plan would be a huge help. But I would be misstating if I said that Kieran didn't have to comb through what could be described as a bit of a hot mess with all the different bills and how complex they are and whether they reflect one building or several. And there is an awful lot of work to do on this file to help us do a better job of managing. And so thank you to Rebecca and Kieran and Randy for everything that went into this.
Thank you, Kim. Are there any other questions? Not seeing any, I will call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, Kieran. Okay, mindful of the time, it's 5 to 12. Lunch, I understand, is going to be delivered about 12 or shortly. So I don't know whether we're going to get through all this before we adjourn for lunch, but we're going to give it a go. So the next report is from the Clerk's Department. Tara will be taking us through a report on corporate sponsorship policy. Someone care to move that, please? Councillor Pringle and Councillor Nielsen. Tara? Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. So this report comes before you today seeking council's consideration and approval of a sponsorship policy. So on occasion, Grey County does enter into sponsorship arrangements or agreements with businesses where Grey County is a recipient of either funds or in-kind contributions in exchange for recognition or other promotional considerations. So there's been a need identified by staff to have a corporate policy that oversees and guides staff when they're considering these sponsorship opportunities, as we currently don't have one. The draft policy is attached for your feedback and consideration. It outlines the proposed criteria for approval, restrictions where we wouldn't accept a sponsorship, and thresholds where an agreement is required versus where a more informal arrangement may be appropriate. Staff hope to have this policy in place for the June 27th meeting, as there is anticipated to be a sponsorship opportunity coming forward at that time for council's consideration. So the policy is there for your review and feedback, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Tara. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Mackey.
Thanks, Mr. Warden. Thanks, Tara. Can you provide any examples of corporate sponsorships that we have taken on in the last number of years? I'm just trying to get a sense of what this may look like.
Yeah, I'd ask Savannah to answer that question for you.
Thank you very much through you, Mr. Warden. In the past, at Grey Roots especially, we often get sponsorships for events, so that we'll have a host sponsor to help cover some of the cost of an event. We've also had large ones towards buildings and naming rights. So a couple of years ago, we had a sponsorship of $20,000 to name Zeus's Place, which is our children's gallery at Grey Roots. We had $40,000 sponsorship last year for the Arnott General Store for naming rights there as well. So they range anywhere from a couple $100s for events up to tens of thousands of dollars at this point in time.
Councillor Matrosas.
Thank you. Through you, the warden. I just wanted to ask just a clarifying question with regards to item 3.2 and the restrictions. It refers to beer that an exception could be beer/wine and/or cider of a local nature. So I have two questions for that. One is of a local nature. It's kind of broad. So I just wondered whether or not we could actually just put our stamp on it, as we've heard about all the successes and the innovation we have here in Grey County, and say within Grey County, and just make it a full stop there. But I would also like the consideration of to include that it could be spirits as well, because we have Spy Cider House and Distillery, which is producing right here in Grey County, right in the Blue Mountains, actually making their own stuff and selling their own stuff on their organic farm, vodka, gin, liqueurs. So I would like to make sure that we encourage that. Thank you.
Who wants to take a run at that?
Thank you for the question through you, Mr. Warden. I think that it makes sense to be able to locate it here. In some cases, depending on partnerships that we have, we may want to say Grey Bruce Simcoe, just in keeping with our regional tourism organization. And to add spirits would make sense because we are starting to see some of those. So that is a good catch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Savannah. Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Tara, and thank you, Savannah. The next report is going to be. Sorry? Might be, might not be. It's Becky that's going to take us through it. Senior planner. He's going to talk about a Grey County official plan amendment, a potential amendment regarding Forbes Quarry expansion. Motion or someone to move that, please. Councillor Carlton and Councillor Mackey. Becky. Full disclosure, we're saving Scott for almost lunch.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Becky Hillier. Yes, cognizant that I'm taking Scott's traditional role of standing between everyone and lunch today, but I'll try to keep this quick.
So I just wanted to present a quick overview of a recent county official plan amendment that we've received. We are referring to it as OPA 19 or the Forbes Quarry expansion. And it's just a high level overview of report PDR CW 32-24. So we have received an OPA. It was submitted by Dawn and Tony Forbes through Cuesta Planning Consultants. And the applicants are proposing to adjust land use permissions on an existing property to expand a quarry operation that currently exists on those lands. The OPA would expand the designated mineral resource extraction area shown in Schedule B of our county official plan from approximately 12.5 hectares, which currently exist to permit that existing quarry, to 87.85 hectares. And of that new extraction area, approximately 56.88 hectares is proposed to actually be for the extraction of that bedrock resource. So at this time, a related zoning bylaw amendment has also been submitted to the Township of Georgian Bluffs, and that's being processed concurrently with this OPA. And a joint public meeting has been scheduled for July 10th at the Township office. At this time, notice has been provided to all neighbors and agencies in accordance with the Planning Act, and signage has been erected on the site. But I would just stress that at this time, we've really only taken sort of a high level, very cursory overview of the material. So we haven't had that fulsome review process yet, and we haven't collected all of those comments. The applicants are also going through a simultaneous process to secure licensing for the quarry operation through the province under the Aggregate Resources Act. And the applicants have they started initially with that process. They've, to my understanding, have already done a round of public engagement, including a public meeting through that process as well, and collected some agency comments, including initial comments through the county last year. So in terms of the location of the subject lands, this is a topographic image showing the boundary of the entire subject area is actually composed of 3 specific properties. So on the east boundary there, that is kind of aligning with Zion Church Road, and the southern frontage has frontage on concession 17. Oh, and sorry, I'll just give you a few more land markers there. So directly to the south there, that forested area is a county-owned forest property, actually known as the quarry. And to the southwest, there is another quarry operation of a much smaller scale currently operating down there. And to the east, it's about 1.5 kilometers to Mountain Lake. So the lands are legally described as lot 7, 8, 9, part of 10 of concession 18 in the previous geographic township of Keppel. As I mentioned, the lands consist of 3 separate properties, and in total, they're about 170 hectares in size. The eastern property contains a single residential house, barn, and accessory structures, and those uses or structures are proposed to be maintained, and they would be outside of that extraction area. The southern property is very small. It contains an existing single residential house. That house is proposed to be removed so that extraction can occur under that house. The western property contains the existing quarry operation and appears to be partially used for agricultural purposes, in addition to having a large forested area. So this is sort of roughly what the proposed amendment looked like. So that stripy area to the bottom in red, that shows the boundary of the existing quarry. And then the stripy area in purple is the proposed expansion of that quarry. So just a few details of kind of what that extraction process would entail. So currently the existing quarry is licensed to extract about 100,000 tons of material per year maximum. And that is proposed to be maintained through the current extension of the quarry area. So that means that there shouldn't be more sort of trucks or noise happening as a result of this expansion compared to what currently exists on the property. Extraction is proposed below the water table, which is similar to what's currently occurring on site as well. No blasting is proposed, so that means a lot of quarries now they will do sort of monthly blasting, but I understand that that's not the case here. I think they have some sort of cutting saw and hammer system that they're looking to use rather than blasting. So the effects of vibration, I think, would be less significant than a blasting situation. It's anticipated over the entire lifespan of the quarry, about 21 hectares of forested area would need to be removed in order for extraction to occur. Extraction is proposed in phases, with each stage being progressively rehabilitated. So that means that essentially the property would be sectioned off, and extraction would occur in one area, and then once that material is depleted, that area would be rehabilitated before the operators would move on to a different area of the property. The zoning amendment submitted to the township is proposing to use the existing quarry area to process material on site, while also acknowledging the existing office use and accessory structures that are part of the current quarry operation. So from my understanding, they are already crushing gravel on the main quarry site, and that's proposed to continue. So as noted, this is requiring a county OPA as well as a township zoning bylaw amendment. The county's official plan provides policy direction for any new quarry operation or expansion that shall have to go through a county official plan amendment process. This is slightly different than when someone comes forward to apply for a gravel pit operation. The difference here is that the county has certain mapping that shows where high quality gravel resources exist. And so we generally, if someone's operating in those areas, they don't require official plan. However, we don't have the same level of mapping for quarries. And so those do require an official plan amendment. So in terms of some key policy considerations that we will be continuing to review through this proposal as we start that more in-depth technical review. So the provincial policy statement provides some general directions to protect mineral resources for future extraction operations. As well, similar to our official plan, provides a lot of direction around natural heritage features, including significant woodlands, wetlands, species habitat, as well as protecting local water supplies. The county's official plan maps the subject lands as rural and hazard lands in Schedule A of the county's official plan. So that is to say that we're not recognizing this property as being within a prime agricultural area, although it does appear that there is agricultural activity happening on a portion of the property. It's also mapped as mineral resource extraction area in Schedule B, noting that permission for the existing quarry. Within Schedule C, it's designated, a portion of the property is designated as being a core area and linkage. And so that mapping is considered to be some of our most ecological significant features throughout the county, where we have these large contiguous areas of forest or wetland that provide these really key ecological habitats for some of our species. In this case, there is no extraction or licensed area expanding into the core area. However, it would occur in the linkage. And so the linkage is sort of the mapped areas that are kind of mapped out to roughly connect in the shortest distance are large core areas. So in this case, the linkage would connect southwards to the county forest property just to provide that habitat movement corridor between those core areas. There's various other natural heritage features on the site as well, including unevaluated wetlands, significant woodlands, and water features. And large portions of the property do fall within a karst area per Appendix A. So at this time, as noted, we will be continuing a high level, or sorry, a more in-depth technical review of a lot of the reports that have been submitted by the applicants to date, including some of the comments that have been submitted by provincial ministries. But at this time, we're just putting forth a general recommendation to receive this report for information.
Thank you, Becky. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Eccles.
Thank you. You mentioned that they were going to stay within the 100,000 tone. What does it take to increase that at any time during the production?
Yes, thank you. So my understanding is that it would require another license approval process through the province. I don't believe it would re-trigger a county official plan amendment or a zoning bylaw amendment, but it would require an additional review process under the Aggregate Resources Act.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Becky. Lunch is here. What would council like to do? We have two more matters to deal with. We have a closed meeting and we have a verbal update on Bill 185. Lunch? We can promise to do it in 10 minutes. We'll press on. Unless somebody, well, we're going to press on. Closed meeting matters. Motion is that the committee of the whole does now go into closed session pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended to discuss labor relations or employee negotiations, specifically bargaining update, OPSU, Grey Gables, and Lee Manor. Someone care to move that, please? Councillor Matrosovs, Councillor Patterson. All those in favor?